have a guest tonight, guys.
Oh.
Hellfighter Steve here to give us an update on the profiling bill.
So y'all need to behave.
Yeah, so we all need to behave because he is a pastor. Uh, he's not the only pastor on the internet, but he's our pastor. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing just peachy. Just
That's
doing
good.
great. Beautiful day. Like I said, we went from winter to summer in one day or 2 days. 92 degrees out. And I'm trying to get the air conditioner working on the Road Glide.
Well, that's just a throttle twist, isn't it?
Probably September.
Well, how's that going to work? Air conditioning on a Road Glide.
Hey,
you're going to strap it to the front?
You think about these Indians and their innovations. Well, we got air conditioning.
Right. Hi to everybody in the chat. Evil Rick. Gloria, Nickel Ryder, Greg, Dr. Harley's in there. Hey, Steve, we'll keep it quiet and won't tell Doc Harley about what you did, okay?
What did I do? I can't.
You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. Hey, Henry.
Okay, I'll spill the beans.
Only if you want to.
I'll spill the beans. Okay, Doc Harley, I did some work on my Road Glide on Monday. I rebuilt my Dark Horse compensator, and I reused primary cover gasket, just so you know. Didn't use RTV. I wiped it off. I sprayed it down where brake clean, wiped it down, cleaned the surfaces, bolted it up, and it's not leaking. I know you don't like to reuse gaskets. Poor guys like me will reuse a gasket. Just letting you know that.
Sometimes you can get away with it.
Certain gaskets, there's no pressure on this gasket.
Right, yeah, we'll knock on wood and keep you safe there.
You know, it doesn't have any pressure. I have reused a cam cover gasket in my life.
Right.
So, one of those things you deal with.
Hey, how
and
you
if
doing,
it
Aaron?
leaks, I can always get a gasket.
Right.
Yeah. You know, top end gaskets I don't reuse. Like for the rocker covers and that, I don't reuse those.
Too much pressure, I suppose.
Yeah, well, too much of a pain to replace. There's no pressure. Well, there is some. There's some pressure on even with a cam chest. There's some pressure there. But Harleys generally don't run high oil pressure. We need oil flow, not pressure.
Right.
So
when was the vote on the bill?
This is in Iowa. I'll let you know about profiling. Let me just kind of preach the sermon, and then we'll deal with that. Iowa has been trying to get a profiling law passed for a number of years. We came as close as possible to getting it passed this year. We made it through the subcommittee. The chairman of the subcommittee is just on my bike there, Greg. I'm sorry. The chairman of the subcommittee is a highway patrolman. And he and I talked. He is my representative. And we talked, and he's all in favor of a profiling law or anti-profiling law. So we made it from the subcommittee into the committee. The committee about a month ago came to a vote, and if it doesn't come on the floor by a certain date, it's dead in the water. There are 9 people on the committee. There were, I'm trying to get the breakup there, 5 Republicans and 4 Democrats on the committee. 3 of the Republicans voted to pass. They wanted to pass it out of committee. We kind of know their votes, although it's supposed to be secret. 3 of the Republicans did, all 4 Democrats did. That would have given us enough to get it out of committee. But the chairman of the committee basically said we do not want Democrat support. If we don't have all Republican support, it's dead. And that's where they killed it. It was
How many total Republicans were there?
pure politics. And so we start again. We had one guy that's on the committee that will never vote for a profiling project or anti-profiling law. He is a retired police officer. And when we personally talked to him about profiling, he says, you may call it profiling. I call it good police work.
Right. Yeah. Police work.
I don't know how many of you have been profiled as a biker. I am with a Christian ministry called Hellfighters, so I'm not completely unaffiliated. In fact, I am affiliated. I travel in circles with all different types of clubs. I am very close friends with our dominant men in our dominant club in Iowa. And we dealt at our last COC meeting about police profiling. And of course, law enforcement says it doesn't happen. The other side says, well, that's good police work. So we rolled 3 hours west to a little town called Portsmouth, Iowa, had the COC meeting, and then we rolled 3 hours back, an hour through the rain, to a grand opening for a 1% clubhouse here in Iowa with our dominant club. I noticed this. I said, well, you look at that. When we pulled in, there's 3 cop cars there. And they're full of cops, two cops in each car. And my VP says, you didn't look down the side street, but there's 3 more, all full of cops. And he said, and those guys are wearing SWAT gear. This is a town of 840 people at the last census. And I estimated that they spent $20,000 to do this action, to bring cops in. I was told as well, there were 3 unmarked cop cars there that had 3 cops in each of them. And they were waiting for something to happen. They spent $20,000 on this action, and they didn't get to shoot or arrest anybody. Wow, what a rotten deal.
You guys didn't do your job and give them something to do.
I'll tell you what, the biggest crime committed was that there was pie left over. That I don't eat pie usually because of my medical condition called diabetes. My VP says this is the best pie I've ever had in my whole life. Banana cream pie. So I went up and I got a piece. And I don't think he was lying. It may not have been the best pie I've ever had, but it's up among some of the best. And there was some that was left over. Yeah, I'm waiting to talk to some. They never left the car. A couple of the cars pulled up to the closed off street because they'd gotten permission to close off what you'd call Main Street in Colo, 1 block, with and no business, is just a post office there. And they rolled up in their cars, unrolled the window, and talked to a couple of the enforcers that were there, but they never left their car. They didn't do a single thing.
So was this a meeting of clubs, the COC or something like that?
The COC was in Western Iowa.
Okay.
This was a grand opening for a 1%ers clubhouse.
Oh, okay. It's just a party. Our dominant
club. We have 2. Okay, I'm sounding racist here. I'm gonna say we have 2 1% diamond clubs in Iowa. There's a 3rd white club that might be considered 1%, but they don't wear a diamond. We have 2 or 3, depending on who you talk to, 1% black clubs. the tip that the Popo had, Doc Harley, was that this motorcycle gang is taking over this little town.
Yeah,
And they
didn't that happen
they're
back?
bring in. They had national officers there.
Well, didn't that happen
Some
back
who
in the
I consider
40s?
friends, and they were just hoping that something would go on. They had one guy get his patch, and in this particular club, they've got to wrestle for their patch. And they had a wrestling match on the main street, and I thought, oh no, the cops are going to see this, and they're going to,
Think it's a fight.
Yeah. And but yeah, the townspeople are up in the arms because this club is rolled in. They bought out the Leathernecks clubhouse because the Leathernecks aren't around much anymore. They're kind of ready to close up shop in Iowa.
Well, they're a Marine club, right? A veteran club?
They're a Marine Corps club, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep. And we had just a nice time.
Yeah, Marines.
I do not drink alcohol, but they would not allow me to buy a coffee or a pop or anything. It was all bought for me. I thought, I'm being treated like royalty here.
Yeah, that means a lot, don't it?
These guys are, from what I see, should we profile them? Should we, because are they all evil, law-breaking citizens? Are you?
Probably not everybody. I've broken a few laws, I can say that.
I break the law every day when I go to and from work.
You speed?
I speed. I speed.
You hit that one right on the head, didn't you, Steve? You speed?
Oh. And by the way, I broke 100,000 miles on my bike. I bought that bike new.
Hell yeah.
Just great
rock and roll, man.
And they keep after me at the dealerships to trade, and I'm not trading. I keep what I got going, running.
I don't blame you.
But Popo are just looking for it. We've had that happen. There used to be a swap meet and bike show in Des Moines, and there was a brush up between a couple clubs, and all of a sudden, and somewhere in the neighborhood, a gunshot rang out. And the place where that fairgrounds was a really rough place. Who knows who was shooting? We don't know. Well, they shut it down. And now for them to have a motorcycle swap meet in Des Moines, the police department, Polk County Sheriff's Department, demand that they have 20 off-duty cops being paid for that weekend. That they have to, out of their proceeds from the swap meet, they have to pay the salaries for 20 off-duty cops, undercover cops.
That's extortion.
Last time we met in Nebraska City, Nebraska for the swap meet, and had 6 different patches, 1% patches at that one, and not a problem. In fact, they got along better there than I've ever seen them get along.
Well, if the clubs get along, they're going to get along. But, all it takes is that one club that don't like another club.
Usually it's one idiot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, one idiot. See what Doc Harley says? He says no evidence, so he never broke any traffic laws. Nowadays, they got this stupid red light cameras where they take pictures of you, Doc. So, yeah, they got evidence of you.
Well, in Iowa, that's not considered a moving offense, and you have to be going at least 11 miles an hour over, and there's only certain places they can have them. So, because I got one of those letters from a little town called Strawberry Point, about 600, 1,200 people there, and I said, that's not a legal ticket because you got to have more than 10,000 people in your town to even have a speed camera.
Oh, really?
So I wrote him a letter and told see you next time.
See, it's good to
Not
know
that I would
like
speed through a little town, but sometimes things would accidentally happen.
Well, it's good to know laws like that because I didn't know that if you had to have so many people to have a speed camera.
It's in our state. That's our state
Well,
guidelines.
yeah,
Ohio
well, I'm sure I
may
can
be
check
different.
on it here.
Ohio, if you're 1 mile an hour over, I think they pick you up.
Usually.
Um,
The state boys don't give you no leeway. The state boys will pull you over for 1 mile an hour. But the city cops and the county cops, they'll usually give you 5 to 7,
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
speaking of
profiling exists.
I
I've been
can't-
profiled.
well, Steve, I can't ever say that I've been profiled. I've only been pulled over on the motorcycle a couple of times. Once when I was younger and didn't have a driver's license, and then once when I had a slight little accident, and the cops got called. Those are the only 2 times that I've ever really dealt with the cops on the bike. So profiling, I know it exists, but I think it exists more on the club side of life than it does the dare I say, the lone wolf side.
Hey,
not that I'm
you
a
can't
lone
use
wolf.
that term.
On your vest. My bottom rocker on my vest says Christian Ministries. And I have been profiled. Just the fact that we had scat loads of cops at this grand opening, and yeah, it was a club, we were profiled. And by the way, when we left town a block away from where the cops were, my VP and I both hammered our bikes.
Right.
I was up to about 75 in second gear.
Yeah, that's oh yeah, okay. Evil Rick says independent, not a lone wolf.
Oh, I like that
easy,
lone
Salvin.
wolf patch. Y'all, everybody ought to have no club, no rules, lone wolf on your vest.
Right. Well, I think a cop would go after you mainly because you're an idiot for having a vest that way, but but yeah, I think they go after the clubs more. Like you said, bottom rockers really gives them a thing of, hey, this is a 1%er. Let's see what they are.
And we've been followed out of the county. Too close for comfort.
Right.
Right.
About dusk, if deer would have run across the road, the sheriff would have killed us both. He'd have run right over us. Maybe people watch too much Gangland or Sons of Anarchy.
Now that's the real deal right there, Sons of Anarchy. I tell you that, but that's not long.
No, from what I gather, if you've ever watched the movie Hell's Angels 69, I mean that's the way that most clubs party. They don't really act like
No wonder they stop at 69 for a reason.
Well, I do know this. There was a time when with the Diamonds, and I'm not going to speak for all Diamonds, the guys I know, that meth flowed freely, but they realized it caused way too many problems in the clubs. There are very few people that use methamphetamine in the clubs right now. Cocaine flowed real heavy when that was popular. That doesn't happen right now. Weed is legal in a lot of states where the clubs are, and so they don't see that as a drug or an illegal drug. And alcohol. That's probably the biggest drug that's used is alcohol in the clubs.
Yeah.
But as far as sitting around like at the COC planning nefarious deeds, it don't happen. In fact,
you see, Henry says police in Ontario, they even go after anyone wearing support gear.
Yep. And the OPP, from what I've ridden in Canada, the OPP is they lean on you pretty heavy, and they don't have much of a sense of humor. Just saying.
Right. Yeah, Frogzilla says, yeah, you do meth, you turn into a meth monster. I remember when I was younger, like you were saying, cocaine did flow freely, but they didn't like meth users back then because it did fry your brain and it made you not worth keeping company with if you want to know the truth.
Right.
So, but
I might make a suggestion to go online. I don't have a way to put that out there, but go to the Motorcycle Profiling Project and fill out the survey.
I
This
think
is what we are using in our state and nationally to get a anti-profiling law in place. Rob could probably speak more to that because he's involved with the Motorcycle Riders Foundation. And that is a big deal. And Rob is putting it out there on his phone, aren't you?
I think that's what he's doing. It needs to be a national thing for sure. That way, all states are behind it and for it.
Okay, and the other thing is the ABATE in each of your states is fighting for our rights. If you are not a member of ABATE, it's like $35 a year.
Yeah.
Here it's $30 a year.
$30 a year. You ought to be. You ought to be a member of the Motorcycle Riders Foundation. That is the only national organization that is fighting for our rights as bikers. And that's what, $40 a year, Rob?
35.
35.
Can't you pay like $300 and get a lifetime membership on that?
Most abates will have that.
Yeah.
And I don't know about, does MRF have a lifetime membership?
I think they do.
No.
They don't?
No, we do not.
You don't? Okay.
No.
I thought you did.
It's not letting me share the link. It's not letting me share the link.
Uh-oh. Probably because you're on your phone.
We have a 3-year membership individual for $95.
Okay.
Can you send me the link?
And since this is unaffiliated, I won't tell you there's a sustaining membership for clubs and organizations that is $100 a year. Which ought to be, our clubs need to stand together. And frankly, they're the ones fighting for your rights. They're the ones who go to Washington. They're the ones that go to the capital city and testify. And you need to support them and need to be involved. We're going to be looking at sometime being like Australia, where we can't have firearms and we cannot associate with people that we want to associate with.
All right, Damon, I sent it to you.
Okay, it won't be long. You're exactly right.
And we will whine and complain when that happens, but we won't do anything to prevent it.
Right.
$30 and $35 is not a lot of money.
No.
Takes that to fill my motorcycle gas tank anymore.
Right. That's the link for the profiling project.
Yeah.
Please
and
click on it.
It doesn't take 5 minutes to fill out.
Yeah, click on it and save it to your phone there, and after the show, go and fill it out, please. Founding member of ABATE Woodstock here, no longer active. Is that because you're too old or because you don't want to be with them no more? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Support the Blue Line Gang, not.
And that's
I
the
don't
other
think
thing
so.
The clubs are realizing they are not one another's enemies. The man is their enemy.
Yeah.
Right.
if you take a person from every diamond, put them in a bag and shake them up, whichever one you pull up will be the same guy. We like riding motorcycles. We don't
still gonna
like
get a
being told
diamond.
what to do, except there's a lot of rules in the clubs, which people don't realize.
You're still gonna get a diamond, right? You pull out a diamond. Hey, Tiger.
Hey, Tiger.
Oh,
But yeah,
Tiger.
if you go there and you fill out the like he said, it takes like 5 minutes, and just fill it out. And if you've ever been profiled, give them not a ask for a summary or something like that of your story. Put it out there.
You know, profiling can be as simple as when you're at a bike night and the man comes up, says, and he starts a casual conversation. Oh, where are you coming from? And what they're doing is they're digging to get you to start freely talking, and then they're going to get a little more in depth.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that leads me to another question. It not just not just law enforcement profiling you, but you do get profiled by club owners or business owners. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, you think of the clubs or the bars that have no colors rules. That's a profiling deal. Everybody profiles. I profile people. When I walk into a clubhouse or a club, I will size up people, and I'll look at if things went bad, who do I want at my back, and who do I want to, watch out for?
Right.
Right.
And one of the guys in our dominant mentioned, I said, you step into a room that full of people, you just kind of stop and look everybody over, don't you? I said, I know what that look means. I said, it means I have a little experience.
Well, you as a preacher, you know a lot of people on both sides of the fence anyway.
Yeah, and I'm not anti-cop. I really am not.
I was gonna say, diamonds. You probably know cops. You probably know, lawyers. Of course, it's always nice to have a lawyer in your pocket.
Independence. And talk to them all.
You probably know more independents than you do anything else, don't you?
I don't know. I know a lot of guys.
He knows you, and you're quite a few independents.
Yep, I know a lot of independents. The other thing is, I was asked once at the campground at Sturgis by one of the guys, says, "Were you patched with these guys?" Just, what do you mean? They're all coming up to you and giving you a hug. Were you one of their brothers? And I said, no, but I know them all.
Right.
Talk to them all. And some I consider my closest friends.
Tiger wants to know who's coming to West Virginia with me and Evil Rick. Greg is coming. Dark's not coming with me. I don't think he's going to make it, but Greg is coming to my house, and then we're all riding down with my old lady and Greg and Evil Rick. There you go. And I'm gonna try and hook up with the 859 guys. See if they're trailering down or if they're riding down. We'll see. Yeah, Zan ain't coming. XAN.
Sounds like it'd be a fun ride down there. I'll
Yeah,
be
you're
up
gonna
in
miss
Wisconsin.
You're gonna miss a good party, man. You'll be in Wisconsin. Yeah.
I'll be in Wisconsin with the circuit riders.
What you got coming up there, Shadow?
When?
Next week.
Next week.
Weekend. Week from this weekend.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I will be at the Taste of Shakopee Thursday and Friday next week for putting up a booth for the MRF and A Beta Minnesota to help bring in awareness to motorcycling and motorcycle rights, stuff like that. And come Saturday, I'm hoping to be at Back to the 50s so I can hand out some IMA brochures, independent market, motorcycle aftermarket, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And because it doesn't just involve motorcycles, it involves cars as well. For the
IMA.
internal bus, the engine, and the right to repair act, that's cars as well. So
Doc Harley says you're
yeah.
afraid of him, Shadow.
Well, Dr.
Yeah.
Harley, are you going to be at Sturgis this year?
I ain't afraid of no one, Doc.
I think he's going 2026 there.
Okay, I'll probably go then too. But
Well, you
I
go
haven't
every year,
missed the
don't you?
Sturgis since I patched with the Hellfighters.
I was going to say, isn't Sturgis a yearly thing for you?
Yeah. 1 year I had carpal tunnel surgery on my left hand, 2 weeks. 1 day short of 2 weeks. I rode an hour and a half to Des Moines and had the stitches pulled out. Asked the doctor if I could hurt that surgery. He said no. And so I rode from Des Moines 12 and a half hours, maybe 13 and a half hours to Sturgis. And that was the year that they had the floods and all the bridges had gravel approaches. And I was about ready to quit.
I bet your arm was numb, wasn't it?
And that was probably not the brightest thing I've ever done, but I was going to be at Sturgis. I had to do the clutch. I had to wrap my fingers and pull my whole hand back to do the clutch because it was hurting so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, you just leave your hand in one position and just pull it back.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
I've been there. I know what you're saying.
Thinking about a foot clutch.
Yeah.
1 year coming back from Sturgis, I had to lift my hand up to the handlebar and set it there so I could ride.
That's when you broke your collarbone, wasn't it?
That was when I tipped over in the gravel.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I broke my shoulder blade, not my collarbone.
Do you get the word out a lot up there in Sturgis with the profiling?
You know, Sturgis doesn't seem to be quite so bad.
Okay.
All the cops there's cops everywhere at Sturgis. Every street corner, there's 2 cops or 4.
Yeah, Daytona's the same way.
Yes.
And it seems like they don't bother the clubs. I take that back. Bear Butte Lake Road last year coming home, we noticed 3 cop cars parked in the ditch doing a sobriety check stop.
Mm.
And the only people that ride that road are us and the Sons of Silence. So, yeah, there was being some profiling there.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, we made a quick call. Hey, you guys might want to take another road.
Well, from what I'm gathering, there's going to be a very heavy police presence at all major rallies this year because of what's been going on between the clubs. So we'll see.
You're telling me not to litter?
Man, yeah, I wouldn't litter.
I should police my brass.
I'd wear glasses too, because a lot of these towns at the rallies, man, they'll give you a ticket for not having glasses on.
Oh yeah. We were riding with a club that's heavy in South Dakota, and we got pulled over because some of the guys were riding without eye protection.
Yep.
And
yep. And what kills me is it's like, hey, I got a windshield on. I don't have to have eye protection. And they're like, well, you're in our state, you do.
We were in town and going under 20 miles an hour. And they pulled them over.
Right.
And they were again searching for something. They weren't just pull over. And the Red and White has a clubhouse just off Main Street. And they got their bar and they got their tattoo shop, their T-shirt shop right there on Main Street, right next to the NCOM booth. So, yeah, there was a couple years ago a little dust up that I won't talk about. I wasn't involved with, so I don't know the true facts.
Right.
Right.
Best not to speak of it then, huh? I agree.
Yeah. And so there's always a little tension in downtown Sturgis.
Well,
Yes.
I've been
there
to
is.
Sturgis once, and I didn't go into town per se, but just passing through. So the only interaction I actually had with town was being, with you down there at your place.
Okay. I'll tell you what, going down Main Street,
Yeah.
Sturgis, there's some energy there that's kind of cool that you missed out. When you got all these bikers shoulder to shoulder, and you got live music over here, and there's some cool stuff. I mean, there's an energy there that I can't explain that you guys missed.
Well, I kind of agree because I have been down Main Street in Daytona. So I know what you're talking about, the energy you get from the crowd. Everybody looking at you as you ride down the road. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. And everybody poo-poo Sturgis, not as wild and woolly as it once was. Glencoe is still pretty wild and woolly as a campground, I think. The others are not quite that bad. But we have rescued young ladies from Glencoe who were trafficked as well. A lot of trafficking goes on there.
Yes. Yes, there is.
Isn't that profiling? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, you all people know because, like you just said, you've helped women get out of it before, so you know what's going on up there.
And they have to come to us and ask for help.
Well, yeah, of course.
Or someone has to bring them to us and ask for help. Funniest story at Sturgis, I think. We provide a place for guys and women to sleep it off. When the cops stop somebody, but they won't let them, they don't want them to get back on their bike because they're too drunk, or they don't want to arrest them for drunk and disorderly, they will give them an option, and they will take them to the Hellfighters mission at the Cross. And we've got a place for them to sleep. Well, I meet the police that it pulls in, and he said, before you do anything, you got to know something. But this guy's bare naked. He's got no clothes at all. He says, what? Yeah, apparently he was going to do some business with a young lady, and she literally grabbed all his stuff and ran. And so he had no clothes. So I said, give me a second. I went and got a blanket to wrap him in, and then we found some clothes that kind of fit him for the night. But he lost his phone. He lost his wallet. He lost his drawers. Everything was gone.
Wow.
He did not have a good, which goes to show that's probably not the wisest decision he made in his life.
Well, that's a good story for, to tell at the bar.
Yeah. But yeah, the cop goes, and his eyes were big. He says, this guy doesn't have any clothes at all on. He's bare naked.
That's crazy. Sorry to hear that, Henry.
And then after we got the guy taken care of, got him settled, got him laid down in a tent, cops hung around, and he and I had a really good laugh over that.
Yeah, they're talking about some accidents in the chat there. We had a couple accidents here where a couple different guys they went over an overpass like 20 feet and died. It was crazy. Wow. 2 different accidents. same kind of deal happened to both of them.
Right.
So what do they
No.
do with the bikes up there, Steve? That's what Henry's
What do you mean? When the cops pick them up,
Yeah.
the bikes are usually impounded because they clean the street off at 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody has to be off the street at 2 o'clock in the morning, and if your bike is there, it gets towed. It gets impounded.
Oh, okay. So a tow company gets it then?
Yeah. And then you got to pick it up. There was a guy, this tattoo artist, had his bike impounded. What was bad is he bought it from a friend who died and never had a clear title to it. And so he did not have proof of ownership. And we had to do some tap dancing to get his bike back. He had to do it with the guy's old lady. The guy who died, his old lady, sent all the documentation, and they sent it to our fax at the mission. And then we were able to take it to the cops, and I think he had to pay a couple $100 to get his bike back.
Okay.
But yeah, if you're arrested at Sturgis, guarantee your bike's going to be impounded. It'll be towed to the yard and put there, and you got to pay the piper.
Yeah.
And a daily rent.
Part of it is they're trying to teach you a lesson too. You know, don't come up here and be bad. Yeah.
You know, I am. And you got to be pretty messed up to for the cops to pick you up. I mean, really messed up. One guy came in, the whole side of his face bruised and beat up, and I asked him. Then in the morning, we had breakfast. We talked to him, get him a shower, give him breakfast. I said, "Who hit you?" And he goes, "The sidewalk."
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, you get guys who come and say they were at a red and white clubhouse and at the clubhouse for the red and white, or they're at their bar, and one of them beat him up. Usually it's 10 of them beat me up. Yeah. Then you got to find the true story. I always ask them, whose old lady did you grab? That's usually what gets you your eye dotted. And it's usually just one guy. It only takes one of those guys to ruin your whole life, especially if you're drunk.
Well, Frogzilla says Florida will take your motorcycle for any violation. I would say most of them rally event police will take your motorcycle. Like I said, it's to teach you a lesson. Right. Don't come up here and be bad, you know, or we're going to take your shit and you're going to pay for it. You know what they say? Go on vacation, leave on probation.
That's pretty good.
But
no, frankly, Sturgis is fairly. It's kind of fun to go to every year, and we go every year.
Yeah.
We usually have a booth at Buffalo Chip and a booth at Full Throttle, and and I'm not much of a booth sitting kind of guy.
I got another question for you. As far as the profiling bill, after you're done filling out the profiling sheet, should you contact your local or your congressman?
I think, according to your abate, depending on what you got working, I think it's always a good idea when the profiling bills come up that you should contact your representative and your senator and even the governor and say, I am really interested in this. I really want you to pass this.
Also contact your state representative, the one in Washington.
Right.
Because
state representative. And then if it comes up nationally, you contact your national representatives. But
yes,
you got to understand the goal of a politician, and their job is to get reelected. And they know that if somebody's upset with them, they'll tell 50 people, 100 people about it. And so they may tell you, we've had a couple guys giving us, tell us what we want to hear and then vote against us. And
Right.
And that had been brought up to them, say, you understand that we're going to primary you this year.
And just so people know, if you fill out that profiling project, that helps form the anti-profiling bill on the national level. So that's helping the MRF out fight profiling.
It also has regional and state representation, so it helps you with your state too, Rob, not just national. That's what our states use.
Yes.
So it's not just state, but it does go to the national level.
So if your state doesn't have a anti-profiling bill, it'll help them get one. It'll help them form one.
Right.
Yeah. And what they do is they take this survey to the representative and say, this is how many people see it as a problem of your constituents. And again, it's broken down by state. So we can go to the Minnesota representative, and I don't even know who they are. I don't keep track of that.
Klobuchar is one of them. Yay.
Are they really ultra liberal?
Amy was standing for Kamala.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
All I know is when I go
really
up to
thrilled.
Wisconsin, I've got to leave something at home because I'm going to spend 2 nights in Minnesota.
And it doesn't carry over, is that what you're saying?
Minnesota does not recognize Iowa's permit system.
I understand, yeah. Well,
hey, PA Biker.
Eventually, they're hopefully will pass a constitutional everywhere carry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
They're trying to do it here. They're trying. Not getting anywhere.
So if they have constitutional carry in Minnesota, can I carry being out of state?
You would.
That's what I mean.
You would be able to.
If they have it everywhere federally, you could carry anywhere. That's what I'm saying.
If it's federal, yeah. But because I carry my permit so that I can carry in other states, even though they may have constitutional carry.
Yeah. Yeah, get a hold of your ABATE chapter up there, Henry, and reestablish yourself. Because if you remember back when Woodstock was going on, they'll probably be happy to have you back. If it's open carry permitted, then it doesn't matter what state you're from. Yeah, that's what I would agree. You know,
I would never open carry.
You wouldn't want people to know that
I don't want people to know I'm armed.
Oh, okay.
And if there's going to be a Mr. Shagnasty out there, who's he going to take out first? The people that have arms, that they see are armed. I don't want anybody to know I'm carrying.
Yeah. I guess I didn't really think of it that way because I've always thought if everybody carried, nobody would mess with each other.
If I'm a nasty person and I want to take out some people, I'm going to go after the people that I think are armed first.
Yeah.
I don't want to get shot.
That kind of makes sense. You're right.
I just don't want people to know I'm carrying. Plus, I think it's almost an arrogant attitude. Hey, look at me! I got me a big gun.
I got me a Colt 45.
That's what she said.
If I'm an open carry, I want to carry my Smith & Wesson 629. It's a dirty, hairy gun. That's stainless steel.
old
3/8 inch barrel.
carry old Colt 45 or something.
Right.
The armed fisherman, yeah, he runs the state of Florida carrying a rifle. I know who you're talking about.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Yeah, in the state of Florida, you're allowed to carry your weapon if it's a public fishing hole or something like that. So he goes to these different fishing holes and makes them, shows the people the law, the cops.
I look at things like that, people like that, and I remember something I was told years ago. Bulldog can kill a skunk at any time, but it's just not worth the fight. In other words, yeah, you can win the fight, but you might be bloodied by the end of it. You might smell a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
I think
Fishing, hunting, or camping.
flying under the radar is a good idea.
Yeah, true that. But you can't fly under the radar so far to get messed with,
No.
Depends on what they mean by messed with.
You couldn't be that lucky.
I mean, when we were at Sturgis last year, did you guys realize I was armed?
I didn't even see you.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, he didn't see. I kind of assumed you were armed, but I didn't.
You didn't see any firearm
I didn't
on
see
you,
it.
though.
Yeah, because we've talked before, and I know you carry. So, so yeah. But I assume everybody's armed.
Right.
I've always thought it's better to be ready than to not.
Well, it's better to have one and not need it than to need one and not have it.
Yeah, true that. Yeah.
And you better make sure you have a cool temper, a cool demeanor. If you're going to carry. If you're a hothead, leave the firearms at home.
That leads you to another thing. If you drink, if you drink and you're a hothead, yeah, you could be very quickly in trouble. So.
Very quickly.
I keep it in my Bible. There you go, Greg.
Weapon in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
That's what she said.
Judged by 12 and carried by 6. I hear you, PA. Yeah.
But if you guys are at Sturgis, stop by the Mission at the Cross. I may or may not be there, but they'll know where I am.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If they say he's out riding, then nobody knows where I am and my crew. Because we like to ride the hills or we like to ride the Badlands as well. Did you guys go into the Badlands last year?
I did on the way home and broke down in the van. So yeah.
You went through the Badlands, or?
Yeah. I was going through the Badlands on the way home when my van broke down. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like 115, and there was.
Was that on that Saturday?
Yeah, nothing for miles, and I would drive like 300 yards, and the van would stall, and then it would start back up and drive 300 more yards, and it took forever just to get to the exit. And then the guy turned around and took me all the way back to Rapid City. I was so mad.
Oh boy! Now we're back.
Yeah.
That was the day that we do an annual ride, a memorial ride with the Banditos, and that was the day we rode through the Badlands. And I think I burned the pads of my fingers on the clutch. It was so hot.
Really? On the handle?
On the clutch, yeah, the clutch lever.
Wow.
Grabbing that.
Yeah.
My handlebars, the grips were hot. I've got heated grips, so they're steel, inside. And
yeah,
the Native Americans call that the stronghold.
The stronghold?
Yeah. That's where they would go and hide from their enemies.
It's beautiful country. I mean, I'll give it that. I like wide open space like that.
Right?
They do a annual ride in December from Standing Rock Reservation to Wounded Knee. That goes through the Badlands to commemorate the Wounded Knee massacre.
Okay.
Largest, what would you call it? Largest school shooting or shooting of school-aged children in the history of the United States was the Wounded Knee massacre.
Yep.
I
remember that.
Over 300 kids.
Wow. Was that back in the early 1900s or 1800s?
Late 1900s.
Late
1800s.
Late 18. Yeah, okay. So like 1870s,
1890s.
Okay,
I can't remember exact date.
That's a lot of kids to be, you know.
And it was the 7th Cavalry that did it. And they are, all the Lakota believe it was revenge for the Battle of Greasy Grass or what they call the Custer's Last Stand.
Yeah.
At the Little Bighorn.
It's nuts.
Yes, it
Sad
is.
place. It's a sad place where it happened. We always stop there and think and remember, talk. The hills are still there where they set up the cannon.
Well, we've
that's
we're coming
another
up on
story.
the hour, guys. I don't know how much longer you got, Steve.
I've got to get out of here. We got a storm coming through.
Oh, yeah, you might want to get home before the storm, then.
Well, I'm going to be here till 9. I've got our church prayer meeting tonight, and then we've got the online prayer meeting I do. So.
Yes, you do. I know that.
Good to see you too, Henry. Have a good meal. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, Henry.
Ooh, it's orange and red coming over.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. Dr. Harley's got a show tonight, guys. He'll be on at, 7:30, 8:30?
Yeah, he'll be on in about an hour.
8 o'clock, 8:30, something like that.
Well, good to see y'all, Froggy and Dr. Harley and everybody else. I don't see who all's on there. I can't. Rick, I think, was there, and
yeah, Rick's here. Everybody that's usually here. Another chemical spill in the Ohio. Uh-oh. Imagine that. 8 p.m., he says.
So Doc's on in a half hour. I won't be able to catch it.
Yeah.
I always watch after the fact. So.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on and giving us an update on this. And everybody needs to do their part and at least go fill out the profiling. Even if you haven't been profiled, get your name on the list. That way, it gets more people to know about
anti-profiling bill.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody saying good to see you, Steve.
Yep, Froggy. Y'all take care.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to tune up the Ancient Martin and get ready for church.
Steve, you have a wonderful evening. You're having a prayer meeting tonight, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Facebook. I'll be tuning in.
I'll be there at 8:30.
I'll get the message. I'll catch you.
Okay. Y'all have a great one.
Take care, Steve. Y'all. Thanks for being here.
You too.
Bye. Yeah. Everybody, we appreciate you coming on tonight and catching up with us. Dark was on from the
Hog Rock.
From Hog Rock, and he, I guess, lost transition or a power. I don't know. You know, he lost the signal. There you go. And he didn't make it back. So I appreciate everybody for being here, and thanks, Rob. You probably should be coming up with something for the Roadhouse so we can talk about the profiling. You know what you're doing on your end of it. That
Me,
might
I'm
be,
right now. I'm sitting on my butt.
well, I mean, it might be a good subject for the Roadhouse to get into. You know exactly what we need to do. To,
Right.
You know, you're in that world now. You know, so to
Yeah,
speak.
but I'm just a little guy.
A little guy, yeah. No signal at all. Well, like I said, he was on for a minute, and then we told him to put a brawl on, and he left.
But we can research some stuff about anti-profiling and stuff like that, and see what we can come up with. I don't know if we haven't talked much about going live this week for Bike Roadhouse. I can throw up the other part of that bike ride.
Yeah,
You know, I'll just come in on here and just play it, and then I'll just chat and talk.
right.
You
Well,
know,
if Rand, you know what I'm saying, just let me know. Um,
yeah. I mean, um, as far as I
I'm
know, I
gonna
ain't got nothing going on. Next week is going to be hard. Next week is going to be hard.
I'm gonna make you jealous. I'm having barbecue ribs tonight.
You're having barbecue ribs tonight?
Yes, I am.
I say that with love, man.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah.
Rob, I'm gonna end it.
Now, you guys all take care. Remember, ABATE, MRF, we fight for your rights. Consider.
Yeah, we fight for your rights.